FinOps, what it is and why it matters. Ta-da! Okay, there we go.
That was very the voice of God. It's like the Metatron or something. Like that was amazing.
Wait. Do you want to hear the voice of God?
Sure.
Can you hear it? Hello, everybody.
Okay, sorry about that.
God has a reverb problem.
A reverb problem, and they had little angels in the back choir and everything. When Peter, I have this thing called Voice Mod, and it's a soundboard. It does things, and every now and then it comes up with these new voices, and so I have to play with the new voices whenever they come up. And also, it also has Damien's favorite noise. So that's the noise that makes him happy.
Yeah. That is the sound of Damien trying to do something live.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm not the only one. So.
You are not.
That's the sound of the meat grinder failing on Oauth once again.
Yes.
All right. Everybody, welcome to the show. Tonight, our guest is Peter Crenshaw, and we are going to be talking about something that is kind of taken as a second consideration. I was speaking tongue-in-cheek on LinkedIn when I said, why is my friggin' cloud bill so high this month? That's actually what's happened. That it actually happens. And then somebody gets very irritated at the CFO level or the C-suite level. And then somebody says, hey, we should do something where we financially, judiciously, carefully consider what all of this cloud spend that we're doing. And thus was born FinOps. And to talk further about it this week we have Peter Crenshaw, who, full disclosure, is an old friend of mine. We worked together at Kronos way back in the day. Peter, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I am just ducky. Thank you for asking. Thank you for calling in from Florida. You're rocking the t-shirt. It's nice and balmy down there. It is butthurt cold up here in Boston.
Well, we were cold over the week. We were cold over the weekend. We were below freezing Saturday and Sunday. So,
are you really?
We were. Now it's going to be 80 tomorrow. So that's why everybody's sick. But yeah.
Oh man, that's a huge swing.
Yeah. When you want to see panic, tell Floridians it's going to be below 60, and they panic. Below 30, and it's chaos. There's falling iguanas. There's all sorts of stuff. So
Armageddon in the streets, cats and dogs living in harmony, mass chaos.
Mass chaos. So we're on the warming trend, but yeah, we did have 2 days of hard freeze. So.
Shala and Damien, you guys are both in Texas. And
yes.
You also had Blizzocalypse, or a snowmageddon, at least a quarter to 3/4 of an inch of snow. How are you faring?
I didn't get any snow. I just got about a 1/4 inch of sleet. But it didn't stick around long.
No?
Yeah.
Enough to shut down the entire state for a couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks.
Yeah. No, not that bad. I actually flew out for work toward the middle of the week, and it was one of the best times I've ever flown out of Austin Airport because there was nobody there. It was like half full. Like all of the like off airport parking was open. It was wonderful. It was like 2008 again.
Man.
It was so nice.
I absolutely love it.
It was very nice.
Yeah.
But yeah, we didn't shut down for weeks. But, when you're not used to dealing with frozen roads, you don't have any way to combat it. So you just get stuck,
And Miss Shala, I see that you've got the screen back up in the back now. Your setup is looking fantastic. You've got your lights on, your pop filter, your Snuggie, your Slanket, whatever that is.
Yeah, so shout out to Comfy because they sponsor me.
Just her personally, not this show. Just Shala.
Just Shala.
You are the most relentless affiliate I know. I'm so proud. I'm so happy for you.
I mean, yeah. So anyways, no, I'm joking. I love affiliate marketing. I love sponsorships.
No shade. Absolutely.
I'm officially a brand ambassador. And I love it. I'll be giving more talks on that on my YouTube channel. Shameless plug.
Nice. Oh, speaking of shameless plugs, everybody do not forget to like and subscribe. I always forget to say that, and Charlotte always reminds me, so I actually remember this time. Go me.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, this year we did not get snow for the first time, which is weird to say for Houston because usually we get snow. We didn't this time, and I was happy about that.
Okay, but it got cold there, right? Or did you guys not get cold?
We got our cold. Like for us, we did dip into like it was like 20 degrees, which is stupid, but we also get 12 degrees these days. So
man,
I don't like it.
Getting as cold as it is up here without the insulation though.
Yeah, we're not built for it. It rains, so it's like a wet cold, so you feel it in your bones. Like when I'm in Alaska, I'm okay, but here is miserable. I'm not a fan.
I didn't know you spent time in Alaska. That is a conversation for a different time. Mr. Crenshaw, let's focus on FinOps. I recently had actually, I'm gonna park that little story because I want to get into like the actual FinOps conversation. Sure. So in order to do that, let us cut over to, let me do this right. All right. Thank you, Restream, for working. Yay. Let's kind of get into it. Why do people want to listen to Peter Crenshaw when it comes to FinOps?
I don't know if they want to listen to me. There's plenty of others out there to talk about it as well. But if
I know this answer. Go ahead.
So I've been doing FinOps now since before FinOps was a thing, right? It didn't have a name. It came about because everybody started jumping on the public cloud bandwagon, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, whenever it really started ramping up. And great, we're not going to have to spend all this capital on hardware. We're going to move everything to public cloud and everything's going to be great. And then they started getting these bills every month that are literally one line item that says, here's your total amount for all the stuff that you put out there. And it's in the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars a month. And there's no detail. It is a single line item. And now you have all your stuff there. And if you don't pay it, they turn it off and you don't get your stuff anymore. So people started to panic and say, we need to understand what we're doing and how we're doing it and what this bill actually is. So if you go to the opposite of that, you can go to your hyperscaler or your provider and download your billing details. You cannot open that file in Excel because there are too many rows. There's hundreds of thousands of rows of detail that sum up to that one single line. And there was no middle ground. There was nothing in between infinite details and minute data that all rolls up to a single line item. So that is kind of how FinOps started. It came to be out of the necessity to understand what you're spending in public cloud. And I was in the weeds prior to there being any tooling out there, prior to there being solutions out there to tell you this, and have watched the community, the FinOps community grow, the solutions grow, the providers grow, and now there's a massive ecosystem just to tell you what you're spending in public cloud.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the Duckbill group. Who am I thinking of?
Corey Quinn.
Corey Quinn. Yeah. He made an entire living out of just unmessing an AWS bill.
Wait, I thought he made his entire living off of shit posting about AWS.
That too. That too.
I love to listen to him talk and post things and read and things. So
we should get him back on the show. I haven't seen him in a hot minute.
Yeah, no, he's great. So yeah, there's a lot of pioneers out there that were doing this stuff before that. There is the Linux Foundation has a branch called the FinOps Foundation that run by J.R. Stormont. So he's the executive director, and he came from a provider that was building out FinOps tools, and now he runs the community and essentially the creation of the standards. Right, it's community driven. It's a foundation. I'm a member. Full disclosure. So they gave me this T-shirt at a conference a couple years ago. But yeah, so there's a community driven foundation. There are standards being built now. There's a shift towards trying to figure this stuff out ahead of time versus being behind the eight ball. And that's expanded now from just being public cloud providers to other SaaS providers that are dynamically charging. So it's not a flat fee. So things like Snowflake and Databricks and all the other things that you pay for consumption.
HashiCorp. Sorry.
Sure.
What?
And then, also branching out into SaaS as well. SaaS, solutions are all going to the subscription models and variable rates. So FinOps is kind of leeching across and really trying to wrap our heads around spend across the technology spectrum now instead of just your hyperscalers and things like that. So It is important to think about, but still the basics matter as well. So especially, I know a lot of the attendees for these are more engineering focused. So I wanted to talk through on why it's important in the engineering lifecycle, what it actually means, and why somebody might be tapping you on the shoulder to look at something. And you're like, well, what do you mean? It's just, it's dollars and cents. Like I'm building code, I'm building cool stuff. But there's a way to do that and do it effectively and advance the organization without slowing it down.
And honestly, that's uniquely exactly why I wanted you to be on this show, because in our experience, in mine and Damien's and Shala's experience, we were on the technical side, and it took some of us longer than others, a long time or a short period of time to figure out that it didn't matter how cool the thing you were building was if it was burning $1,000 a second when the B minus thing that somebody else built is actually making the company money. And the confluence of, build cool, nice, shiny thing and, make the company money is something that sometimes people misunderstand or just completely ignore until somebody like you comes along and highlights that. So that's literally why this kind of talk is exactly what an engineer should be hearing.
Excellent. I've got a great quote to sum all that up at the very end of this presentation. So you have to stick around to the end.
I do? Okay, fine, whatever.
Right, sorry.
We all do, Chris.
Oh.
So do you want to dive in or?
Yeah, let's get into it. Let's do it.
Awesome. I think we actually kind of covered the first slide or two here. So a little bit about myself. I come from the technology side. I'm not a bean counter. I'm not from the accounting side. I took 2 weeks of accounting in high school and said, this isn't for me, and went to the tech side of the hall. So I'm shocked that I'm kind of straddling the fence and leaning back and forth, but I've found that there's a gap in the finance terms that finance uses and the questions they ask and the answers / questions that technology people have. They don't talk. It's not the same language. It's dollars and cents and bits and bytes, right? So I've kind of found a niche in translating for the two sides and being able to talk the talk on both ends. So my finance knowledge has increased, but I am a technologist at heart. I've spent more than 20 years managing technology teams, building infrastructure, supporting infrastructure, answering the phone at 3 a.m., that kind of thing, across a wide range of technologies, from co-location all the way through public cloud. I did build out a FinOps program, as we kind of highlighted previously at UKG, which is an HCM company, managing their cloud spend, finding savings there. And then currently at IEM Manufacturing, which is an electrical component manufacturer, building and scaling their FinOps program for their IT team, focused on the financial governance, optimization, and digital transformation as they advance into things tech. Our equipment supports tech, but we're diving into tech as well from an IT perspective. I've got an MBA in IT management. I am a FinOps Foundation certified practitioner, as well as a FinOps Foundation Focus certification. And Focus is a new standard they've come out with to try to standardize the data coming out of all these different providers. I do live outside of Orlando in Winter Park with my wife and 7-year-old. So easiest way to connect with me is on LinkedIn if you feel like connecting after this and still want to talk to me after that. So, all right. So talk about this a little bit, like what is FinOps, right? So FinOps is bringing financial accountability and cultural change to a variable spend model of cloud. It's understanding what we're spending, how you're spending it, where that money is going, and if there are better ways of doing it. It is a combination of finance and DevOps, but the teams that started doing this were like, hey, we want that ops side. Everybody else has it, info ops, SecOps, DevOps, etc. So take the fin out of finance and you get FinOps, right? So yes, it's short for financial operations, but don't think of it as your P&L management, your accounts payable, accounts receivable, not that financial management, right? It's cloud financial management, not overall cloud. Now, depending on the organization, FinOps could report into finance. It could report into your CIO, your CTO, your Cloud Center of Excellence. It's up to the organization on how these teams are structured. If there is a set team, or if you just have a decentralized FinOps team, maybe that gets together and creates standards and goes about their day in their own common groups. So it's very fluid. It's a very flexible model, but it originates around a core group of people getting together, looking at what is being done, how it's being done, and breaking that down into consumable bytes for the audience, right? So what is the problem, right? Why does this all exist? We talked about it a little bit, but think about traditional IT cost, right? Your co-locations, your on-prem data centers, that kind of thing. Those are fixed, predictable costs that you could go into finance and say, I'm going to buy 10 servers and a whole bunch of storage. Here's what it costs. They can deprecate that or depreciate that cost over 5 years from a capital perspective on the books, and that's the run rate. They know what it is. It's hard and fast. You flip over to cloud computing, and now you're spending money per second in some technologies, per minute in others, per hour, per day, and it's every little bit, every second of every day. You are now paying just like you pay your electric bill. You turn the lights on, the meter starts to go. Until you turn that meter off, you continue to pay. So now instead of a sunk cost and a set cost for this much storage, this much RAM, now I'm paying for every second that stuff is running. And that cost is not always cheaper on the cloud computing side. So
really?
Really? Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
That's so I remember when finance first heard about this, and the screaming matches that what do you mean you don't know what the server is going to cost? And you're like, it's a light switch now, buddy.
Yep.
And I'm not going to name any names, but there was a lot of clouds out there that were saying, oh, it's going to be cheaper.
They're all of them said that. You don't have to name names. They all said that.
And now we're not.
And you'd have somebody come in and do this big presentation and evaluation of all your workloads and say, you move it over, you're going to pay this much a month, and over this number of years, you're going to save money. Whereas you won't have to buy new hardware, you won't have to refresh your data centers. Well, you start adding a few things and not doing basic cleanup stuff, and you're paying for everything all the time that you're used to just sitting on a storage array that didn't cost you any. That 5-year-old storage array, sure, we can keep stuff on it. If it dies, yeah, we have backups, but it's fine. Now you put that stuff in public cloud. Now you're paying for all that stuff every minute of every day, right? So
I think the other key there is just the shift from capex to opex as well.
Yes, yes. Now that used to be encouraged because opex has more tax incentives, et cetera. There's been some recent changes to tax law where that's not necessarily the case, but yes, it used to be a shift from we need all this capital up front to pay for all this hardware to now it's an operational cost. And some finance teams would prefer that. They wanted more operational costs. So it was an easier sell. But now everything's going to OPEX and very little is going to CapEx. And now you have to figure out how to balance that out. So, and really without a FinOps program, without thinking about this from an engineering perspective, a finance perspective, right, you're going to have uncontrolled spend. You're going to have stuff everywhere. You're going to have the mess that you have internally that is sitting on old hardware that you're not paying for in an environment that you're paying for, and it's still a mess, and it's costing you more money. So that's one of the reasons these types of programs are so important. So why should engineers care, right? Or anybody, right? But again, I wanted to gear this towards the engineering side, right? So architectural design decisions make equal financial decisions. So this is at the very beginning when you're designing something. This is from the product teams. This is from the architecture teams, looking at making sure you're picking the right size instances. You're not going to throw a massive VM at a platform that doesn't necessarily need it. You could have done that back in the VMware days where you paid for the whole server and you spun up whatever. You threw hardware at problems all the time to fix it. Now you have to start thinking and designing things to run skinny, to run thinner. Picking the right instance type is very important. You can pick the wrong instance type, it's going to have licensing on it you don't need. It's going to have more CPUs than you need. And Every second those are running, they cost more money because they're larger. Setting your auto scaling thresholds can also impact cost, right? So if you're not using auto scaling and you're standard and you're spinning up new servers to handle load, are you spinning those down? Are you managing that load? Or what threshold are you auto scaling? Retailers run into this a lot during the holiday season, right? They triple, quadruple their infrastructure size to handle the holiday load. And suddenly their cloud bills are going to quadruple as well. And they have to be prepared for that from an expense perspective. And then you also have to compare lift and shift to cloud native. So just by lifting and shifting VM over, it's very expensive. You're going to pay a lot more for that VM when it's sitting in your data center. But are there cloud native options? Can you move to a cloud native, SQL instance versus hosting SQL yourself and save yourself the licensing cost and the infrastructure cost? Are there third-party solutions out there that you run on their infrastructure versus yours and can find some cost savings there? So all those things have to be thought about. One of the best people to explain this is actually the Frugal Architect, if you've ever heard of that. He is, I don't remember his name offhand, but is the CTO of Amazon.com. If you go to the frugalarchitect.com.
Werner Vogels?
Yes. Thank you. It's on a future slide, and I just didn't remember it offhand. So
gotcha.
So here he is, CTO of Amazon. They can probably run whatever they want and pay for it, no problem, or they run it on their own stuff and just pay themselves. Preaching about building things lean, building only what you need, and being very conscious about what you build out. Can't really explain it any better than that from an architecture perspective. But and then you get into having cost optimization as another dimension of your engineering system. It needs to be a component. It needs to be thought of just like performance, right? Is this running as fast as it could be? Or can we dial it down a little bit, save some money, and reinvest that somewhere else? Thank you very much for putting that up there. And then also not just how you design it and optimize, but also your efficiency of what you have running. So it's constant monitoring. This is not a one-time thing. This is a practice. This is a mindset. So you're looking at your resources. So yeah, we did spin up the E2 instances or whatever it might be that you needed for your platform. Now you're going to watch it and see if it's performing well, right? You're going to watch performance. Well, let's look at that performance and say, okay, we over provisioned. Let's go back and reduce that provisioning down to what we actually need and watch those costs come down as well, because it's cheaper. And then you're also building that visibility and accountability that gives you more engineering freedom. If you go to finance all the time as an engineering leader and you say, we need more money to go test out this shiny thing, or we want to go do this, and you can't tell them what the return is going to be, or you don't know how much it's going to cost, you're going to start getting no at some point, right? That tap is going to run dry. But by showing what things cost, showing that you're doing everything you can to reduce your cost in production and your other environments, you can build that trust with finance and have a lot more freedom to do what you want in targeted areas and have that better relationship. And that leads right into reinvestment opportunities, right? So saving from existing environments and existing platforms allows reinvestment in the business. So Adobe is a great example of this. They actually built an entire product based on the savings they made from their cloud infrastructure over a couple of years. So they optimized, they went through and reviewed everything, and they were able to reduce their cost enough to build an entire other product without outside funding, without saying, they need additional funding from anywhere else. They reused that internal money. They also didn't have to, they didn't shrink things down and have layoffs or anything like that during that period of time, because they were able to save from their existing cloud environment. And that money's already been budgeted. We already said we needed this chunk of money. If we can save some of that and reinvest it somewhere else, we can do a whole bunch of other good for the company. And you have those opportunities as well.
No layoffs, huh? Imagine that.
At that time. So, not to say it's bulletproof, but it is, if you start to look for savings, look at the operational stuff, look at your operational spend versus your.
You heard it here first, folks. Peter Crenshaw says FinOps prevents layoffs.
In some cases.
Period.
So how do you improve this, right? So great. I have this environment, or I have multiple environments. I'm multi-cloud. I have all this stuff. I don't know what to do. So one of the biggest things you can do is deploy some tooling to understand what those costs are. There's a plethora of tooling out there now that shows you different ways of slicing and dicing your data. There's things from very basic reporting that shows, hey, here's a convenient dashboard, to more advanced things that can actually help you optimize and control these costs and actually do things for you. A lot of them have embedded AI into their functionality as well to actually go out and actively improve your environment from a cost perspective while maintaining that performance edge that you're looking for. So, and there's a tool for everything, right? If you're a heavy Kubernetes shop, most of the, tools out there that do general FinOps may not cover Kubernetes as detailed as you want, but there are detailed Kubernetes tools specifically for that you could look at incorporating into your ecosystem to help you report on those. I would say look for a tool first and don't try to build your own, because building is incredibly complex. It's massive data sets. It's changing every second. And the hyperscalers love to change things like SKU numbers and rates. And if you're not actively pulling all that data in and doing, this massive amount of engineering work just to show the cost in a better format, you're going to miss out. Things are going to be wrong, and you're going to lose the trust of your business partners because you're not able to keep up. So I would definitely say shift towards the tooling. And I can say this from experience. I did an entire conference talk on build your own versus buying years ago when there weren't a lot of tools and they weren't doing a lot of cool stuff. And I'm like, yeah, you can build your own. We're doing it. I'm the polar opposite now. Find a tool to do it. Don't busy yourself with it. You'll need an entire development team and a lot of headaches trying to do it yourself.
Yeah, there's some good ones out now.
There's some fantastic ones out there. Tagging, labeling, right? So it's amazing how many people working in public cloud don't even know about tagging and labeling, or it doesn't come to mind. So
it's terrible.
It is, but you'd be shocked at how many times I've mentioned tagging or labeling to somebody and they've just given me this look like, what do you mean? Right?
One of the first things I look like.
You could tell how we all have like some massive opinions about this.
Right. And I understand it's a pain in the butt, right? It's annoying, but if you haven't gotten a tagging and labeling standard in place and everything out there tagged and labeled that you can, it is a very hard road to get caught up on and stay caught up on. But if you start from the beginning, it's easy to maintain and you can continue to use it. And tagging and labeling allows you to dissect your cost even further. So yes, the reporting out of the hyperscalers, the reporting out of your tools can tell you how many instances you have running. That's fantastic. I know how many EC2 instances in AWS I have running and how much they cost me. Fantastic. Well, I have 8 products running on those EC2 instances. Which ones are costing me the most? They can't tell you that based on their data. That's where tagging and labeling comes in, right? So you create a labeling or tag, and I use those interchangeably. Different hyperscalers call them different things. Create a standard, even if it's just product equals, and then put your product name there. Then build that into your tooling. Go into your tool and say, look for this tag and everything associated with it, and give me that cost. And now suddenly you can get 8 costs that roll up to your one main cost of each product and show each product owner what they're spending in the environment. So very important, very critical. Again, very hard to do, especially in an enterprise environment that does not have a standard. You'll be chasing your tail forever trying to do this, but highly, highly encouraged to get it in as soon as possible.
I mean, if you make it like part of your infrastructure as code strategy, right? Like Terraform can do that.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Really?
Chris, this is not an advertisement.
No. Right. So it's updating your automation, updating your Terraform, updating, your platforms that are deploying this to say, hey, this variable of a tag or a label, I want to use it, and this is what I want to use it for. So
the only part of that shocked me, Damien, was the fact that you said it before I could get it out. But so thank you. I appreciate you.
Yeah. I actually mentioned Terraform that was not related to Mark Tinderholt. So look at me go. I'm a new man.
Who are you? I love it.
So beyond tagging and labeling, like what else can you do? And the other big area is automate what you can, right? Nobody likes doing things multiple times. Nobody's going to like getting a report from their FinOps team saying, hey, you've got all these orphaned assets out there. Can you go clean them up, please? They're costing us this amount of money, and it's why do we have them? So automate it, whether it's going through on a regular basis and cleaning all those things up automatically because they're orphaned, you don't need them anymore, Or look at how you're decommissioning things. Are you just decommissioning instances by deleting the instance? Because in public cloud, that doesn't delete the disk. That only deletes the instance, and your disks continue running. So can you go back and update your automation that cleans things up and decommissions to include all of the aspects of that instance, and then start cleaning these up on a proactive basis, right? And there's a ton of automation you can do. There's a ton of low-hanging fruit that you can do in your environment up front to clean things up. A lot of the hyperscalers have reports like this baked in. Here's all your orphaned assets based on usage. Here's what you should do. And it's once you get to a caught up phase, your automation or your Terraform is updated to do that cleanup for you. Now you won't have to hear about it anymore until somebody launches a product outside of that standard. And then, you get to go chase them down and say, follow the standard or the standard practice and do that. So, and lastly is taking advantage of other discounts. So not just cleaning things up, not just keeping things running, but there's advantages to knowing what you're spending. And that is, depending on the hyperscaler, it'll depend on what it's called, whether it's a savings plan or a commit use discount. Your FinOps teams can go look at your spend and actually go and commit to levels of that spend at a discounted rate. So the retail rate is $5 an hour. I'm going to commit to 3 years of using that resource, and they will put in a program where you pay $3 an hour instead of $5. That's $2 an hour savings for every quantity that you use. That adds up quite a bit over time. So by having things cleaned up, by having from an engineering perspective, right, by having only what we need running, gives those teams the ability to calculate those savings and increase that return to the company. I do want to go back to what I talked about previous slide real quick before I forget. And the architecture piece, another thing to think about is, what do you not need running 24/7, right? So whether that's your engineering environment, if your engineering team is US based, does it need to run 24/7 and on the weekends and holidays? Or can that environment get shut down? Now, there's some environments and products that you can't just turn off and turn on. So they may need to run, but what can I shut down when I'm not using it and have it on demand turned up? I recently had to go through some ServiceNow training, and part of it is you get your own dedicated instance of ServiceNow to go play in and then do some tests in and what have you. And when I logged in, it said your instance is not running. Please click when you're ready to do your testing. And I'm like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like, I can turn my instance up. And I did some of my stuff for the day, and I just closed out. I went in the next day to do my next module, and it said, hey, we turned it off. You weren't using it. Click here to turn it back on and give us 20 minutes, and then it'll be ready. And okay, well, they don't need to build as big of a dev environment. If you do it that way, you can turn things off and turn things on, but they're also looking at it from a cost perspective. If you don't have to have that dev environment ready to support 100% of your user load all the time, it's going to be a cheaper dev environment than a full-blown production environment, right? So by putting that toggle in and just having me click a button when I needed it versus having it on all the time, ServiceNow on the back end is able to save and reinvest that money versus having to spend all that money for a dev environment that's only going to be used for the 4 days that I needed to take those exams, right? So things to think about. I'll pause there. Any comments or questions?
So I have a couple, but I kind of want to table them to the end, because
Okay.
I think you might answer some of the questions as I go, and they're also kind of like semi-spicy takes. So
Sure.
So I don't want to completely derail the talk.
Sure. Awesome. Almost done. So I couldn't do a presentation this day and age without talking about AI. So I'm going to talk about it two different ways.
Boy.
FinOps for AI and AI for FinOps. I'm doing both ways. So FinOps for AI, right? So AI is just like public cloud was. It is a consumption model. It is complicated. You get billed for things like writes and reads and compute and memory storage and how many evolutions it takes for the AI to come up with an answer. Who knows what else, right? Each AI bills you differently. And it's the same problem we had with public cloud when everybody started jumping on the public cloud bandwagon.
I think it's even worse, because some models consume more tokens per request than others.
There's tokens.
It's a mess.
It's a mess. It's a mess. So it's just as complicated, and the risks of not paying attention to it are just the same, right? You build something cool in AI that does all this stuff, but it's very chatty back and forth internally to get to that point. you're going to have a very expensive solution to try to sell. And then when you start doing the numbers to then go to market, you're not going to be able to be competitive because your stuff costs way too much to run in the back end. So understanding your AI cost in detail, not just what the total is. Again, your bill is a number. It comes across as a number on the invoice. We got to do the same thing for AI as we do for public cloud. So again, there's tooling out there specifically built for AI vendors. Some of your FinOps tooling already incorporates these. You can tie them into those AI platforms natively, and they'll pull in the data, show you the breakdown, the granular detail, and you can actually see how your AI is running. Is it running optimally? Cool, it does all this really cool stuff, but can we do it better? Can we decrease the chattiness? Can we decrease the tokens it needs to run? Can we do all that? You're enabled to do that by knowing what's going on under the hood. And that's why the tooling and reporting is so important. And then AI for FinOps. So there's a lot of platforms out there, as well as independent, LLMs that are now taking their spend data for clouds and AI and what have you, running it through AI to understand and ask questions about it in English to get answers back in text speak. So you can take your raw data, you can feed it into AI, you can ask it questions. It can give you, some generals depending on the LLM you're using. Again, a lot of the platforms have incorporated this into their solutions. So now your data is already there. They already have it. They've plugged in an LLM on top of it and given you a chat box. You can interact with it just like you do, ChatGPT, or you pick your AI poison. And it can help you understand your data better. If somebody asks you a question, you can type it directly in there and get something of an answer. Always verify though. But it is being used more and more to analyze the data because the data sets are so large and complicated. So just wanted to touch on it. I didn't want to dive deep because everybody's so tired of AI conversations and talk anymore. But you go both ways with AI and FinOps, right? What am I spending on AI, and how can AI help me understand my FinOps data? So where can you learn more? So I briefly touched on a whole bunch of different things to think about, just things to start working through within your organization. I mentioned the FinOps Foundation. They're kind of the go-to place, part of the Linux Foundation. So there's their URL there. FinOps Weekly is another community-driven organization that is part of Spain Clouds. So they're European-based. They do a great job in, end user related content, end user experiences. They host a monthly webinar as well. Great group to do presentations. I was on one of their summits recently as well, doing a talk there. Frugal Architect, as I mentioned previously, and it's already been brought up, a great resource for just some basic principles, things to think about. And then your basic cloud providers, all of them have something about FinOps in their how-to. If you just Google the hyperscaler and say FinOps, it'll take you to their knowledge and what they provide reporting wise. They've gotten a lot better as well than they did before. So you can learn a lot about how they recommend you do FinOps and things. One thing I will caveat that one with is remember that the better you do FinOps and the more you reduce your bill, the less money they make. So they might not have all of the data that you want or the functionality that you're looking for, and you may need to go third party to get that. But they'll at least give you overviews of what you can do, ways to save money, things like that. So to end, I wanted to end on this quote, Chris, as I promised you. So this is from J.R. Storment, the executive director of the FinOps Foundation. I think it resonates very well, right? So FinOps is not about saving money. We talk about saving money. It's about making money. And this is at the organization level, right? So the leaner and the better you run your product, the leaner and better you run your whatever you are selling, and you decrease your unit economics, you decrease your costs, the more you can make by selling your product, whether that's more customers because you have a lower rate or other factors that tie into that, or reinvesting it into other products like Adobe did. So yes, we talk about saving. It's, hey, we can save, $1,000 a month here, $1,000 a month there, or $1 million a month here, $1 million a month there. Yes. But that's coming off of a bill that you can now, that was already going to be paid. So what can you do with that money? And then how can you reduce your cost to then decrease your cost to your customers? So I think this covers it very well, and people really don't think about that aspect of FinOps very much until they kind of hear this quote. And that's it. That's the end. So I don't think I have an end slide. Nope, I don't. It just goes black. So
All right. Are we ready for the questions?
go for it.
All right. Peter, you have effectively, by admission, basically you are OG FinOps. And I've only been, for lack of a better term, FinOps adjacent. I understand the value of it. I've used it a little bit, but I haven't dove deep into the tools the way that you have. So I've got a couple of questions. Sure. Since you've been in it since the beginning, obviously cloud billing has become more complex over time since the beginning times, but it's always been shady. There's always been like dark magic. Has it gotten more complex because cloud billing, they like to keep it shady, or has it gotten more complex because the systems themselves are becoming more complex? We used to only have less than 100 services in AWS. Now we have 256. Does it become exponentially harder when you add more services, or does AWS just love keeping it as nebulous as humanly possible to milk every last nickel out of you?
Well, nobody likes complicated. Even the people that are designing systems, platforms, right? Because they have to support it. They have to be able to answer to it. Mm-hmm. So my interpretation of that is it gets more complicated the more you add, because as you have more services, they do different things. You have to look at different charges, things like that. Those 256 services or whatever it is, there's over 500,000 individual SKUs supporting those services behind the scenes.
Okay.
Right. So it's not in, just like when we were talking about AI, right? The reads, the writes, the tokens, the compute, all of those different things by region, by location, all that kind of stuff. Like, it all compounds. So it's complicated not by design, but just by the nature of the beast and how they need to calculate out what it costs. And it's also so complicated that they all take a 48-hour grace period. So there is no real-time reporting on cost. If somebody tells you they can tell you that to the second what your costs are, they're incorrect. They're assuming, because the hyperscalers have a 2-day window where they can go in and change cost around in your billing data before they say it's close to accurate. So, that's why you don't get your bill right on the 1st. You get it like on the 4th or the 6th or the 8th, right? Because they're trying to calculate it and figure it out and fix a bunch of stuff on it. So there's a 2-day waiting period that your bill can fluctuate drastically because things are being tabulated, they're being collected. Remember, a lot of these teams are independent within those organizations. So AWS, for example, or Google, they've got all these individual teams working on their individual products. And they have a standard on how they report their billing data back, but it may take a few hours for that billing data to get there. It may take a day for that system to kick out that billing data back to their central billing platform to then collaborate it all together. So I don't think it's intentional. It's just how these massive organizations are providing all these services, and they have to separate into these smaller groups to do it. You can't centralize a lot of that stuff. It's just here's how to send us your data and let us know how many SKUs you need, and we'll go from there.
I, of course, was hoping you'd say, yes, those dirty, but never mind.
No, I've worked directly with the billing teams on multiple of them on issues and things like that, and they're just as lost as we are. So it's,
what? No.
Yeah. Hey, hey, why is this doing this? Like, I don't know. Like, this is bizarre. So I can't blame them. They're not doing it intentionally.
So what are the clear indicators for like repatriation? Getting like, at what point does a customer want to go, okay, we are so big, us having our stuff in the cloud makes zero sense. Let's build our own data centers again. Let's get back into a colo.
So there's a lot of complexity to that, obviously. My focus areas when I'm asked that is specifically around, what are you running in the cloud? Are you just running VMs with stuff on the VMs and connected to a database? Then yeah, pull it. If you're big and you've got a lot of that stuff, pull it out and put it on a server that is running some sort of hypervisor that you can run and maximize out. Absolutely. But if you're using cloud native, if you're using cloud the way it's supposed to
Lambdas and
be used,
API gateways and
it doesn't resonate, right? You pull some of that stuff out, now you're paying ingress and egress to get data back and forth, and now you got a mess. So unless you can pull everything out and move everything back to on-prem servers and on-prem versions of what you have at a lower cost point, which there are some cases you can, I would not say it would be cheaper to do. But if you're running legacy products, if you're running and just running them in public cloud, to run them in the public cloud to say, hey, we have a cloud footprint. Well, the cloud footprint's just some VMs running all the stuff that we normally run here. It's just not in our data center, right? Then yeah, you have, there's a conversation to be had and a calculation to be had of here's our total cost. Here's what it would take to run it on-prem. Here's a comparison to a Scale or a VMware instance with Microsoft licensing, right? You have to add in all those pieces together, but
yeah,
a lot of times it does
the
come
network guy and the backup guy, and
well, you still need them. You still need your network guy. You still need your backup guy, even in public cloud. It's not all just done for you, right? You still have to have people to manage it. So,
yeah. Or girl, sorry,
girl. No, you still need a resource to manage it that's human, for now. But yeah, you still need those teams, and that was a lot of teams years ago were very concerned, hey, I'm a network admin. Am I going to lose my job when I go to public cloud? Or, hey, we're moving all this stuff out of a data center. Well, you still need the people and the teams to manage that. And if anything, you need more people and more specialists to manage some of this stuff. So, but pulling it back out, putting it back local does make sense in some cases based on what you're using. If you've built a product that is fully cloud native and running on all sorts of cloud native stuff, I would say it'd be a lot harder to do. But a lot of people are just running VMs in public cloud right now. That's still a vast majority of the workloads. So I would say, yeah, conversation can be had. And there are case studies out there. I don't have any off the top of my head, but I know I've read them that, there's some large companies that have done that. They've gone back in-house because they said it was just too expensive.
Yeah. And that's kind of like, I was wondering, okay, well, how big, like, was it a number of systems? Clearly it's not, yeah. But I'm like, what are the big green flags?
Yeah.
And I'm also bogarting all the questions. So guys, if you want to jump in, this is flashbacks and PTSD for Ashala and I. Like one of the big questions that whenever we were going out to do a statement of work for a customer, the very first question we'd ask, if they were trying to do a data center migration or move to the cloud or something like that, the very first question was, what is your tagging policy?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, oh, excuse me, what? And oh, okay, let's add 7 zeros to the bill because that's what it's going to take.
Yep.
So I'll shut up for 2 seconds, folks.
Yeah, I've got a question. How often do you find folks actually kind of doing the math on, for example, no longer running a VM full time, but maybe turning the function that VM was doing into a Lambda or an Azure function that runs based on execution time?
Yeah.
How do you usually approach that conversation? Because it's more than just.
It's more than dollars and cents. Yeah. No,
right. Yeah.
I get where you're going. Yeah. I've had these conversations. So yeah, I know where they go. You have to look at the function, what it's doing, and what the effort would be to move it, and is it worth it? Right. So is it a VM running one function for some app that you could move over, by having a couple people in engineering work on it for a couple of weeks to port it over and be able to fully shut that VM off, and you don't need it for all your customers anymore? Then yeah, absolutely. Go do that. How are we going to compare costs? Well, you have to look at, after it's built, what is that function going to run? What is it going to consume? What is it going to connect to? What are you going to need to support that function? But there's a lot of legacy products out there that have servers, middleware servers, things like that are just idle until it happens to be that function is needed. Then they spin up and do their thing, but they have to be running for the app to work. So it's a valid question. It's great. In some cases, it makes sense if it's a quick and easy move. Others, it's, hey, this is going to be part of a Gen 2 version of the product, and we're going to try to move 50% of our standalone services over to functions or other technologies, and that's part of your next gen product that you should be working on to get off of the old standard, I need a VM to run all these services kind of thing. So it's much harder in the larger enterprise setting, obviously, because you have a lot more of those, but it is worth having.
So how far down the rabbit hole do you go? Because like you could go as far as, how much does it cost to cool the data center
Yeah.
and the people that are working and right, like what's a reasonable place to stop when you're talking about understanding a total cost of ownership?
Yeah, so typically getting down to like the cooling and all of that, unless you own the building and you own the data center, you don't go that far. You go to, we pay X amount a month for this much space and power, divide that across whatever you're hosting out of there to get kind of an even rate. And then that's our data center cost. And then add in your licensing specifically for that product. So, here's our Windows licensing, here's any of our enterprise licensing for Linux or whatever we're doing, here's our database licensing, add that up by your product line. And then so first line is your data center costs that are just a split spread across everything you've got running in there. And then you've got all your licensing specific to that product, any other technologies running to support that product. And then you've got if you have dedicated teams for that product, like you can add that in there as well. But again, those copy over if you move it. And then on the other side, it's okay, well, how much is it going to cost for it's now just licensing. It's no longer your data center cost, but your licensing might be a little bit more. So you have to then calculate how much you're licensing and estimate your licensing. You estimate all your other stuff that you're going to tie into it for that product line. And then, hey, I still have the same team, so that number doesn't change, but I'll list it anyway. And here's your 2 columns in simple form, 3 rows. Here's my general consensus of that. You really don't get into the nuts and bolts of the data center operation unless you own the building and you're paying for the cooling and you're paying for the power. And then you need to go to that level of interpretation. But if you don't own the building or you're just co-locating, then it's just here's my total, divide it.
Got it. Nice. How much savings makes it worth it?
Oh, geez, that's a good question. So the thing is, it's not usually the FinOps guy going, hey, we should do this. It's usually like, hey, we're doing this. How much are we going to save or not?
Yeah.
And it's a past, the shareholders want us public cloud. So we're going to do whatever it takes to get there. Right. It doesn't matter. Here's a blank check until that's no longer blank. That kind of thing. So it's really hard to say because it's going to differ by company, by product line. But you want to save something unless you just want to have fancy new tools and things to play with and you move over. So you do want to see some savings.
Or you're just running an S corp for the tax dodge.
Yeah.
You're just burning whatever you can.
I was going to say, unless you're running on, a mainframe and you're like, what are we going to do? And really the only logical step is to transform that into public cloud, right? So instead of doing the work to move it onto client server, let's do the work to jump directly to private cloud or public cloud and do it that way. That's where it makes 100% sense. And you're going to do the work no matter what. You might as well do it to the new technology. But if you're just running VMs and stuff in the data center, you got some more thinking to do and math to do and conversation to have. So,
and I'm gonna say to Abiola, yes, because I end up playing FinOps as a cloud solutions architect. I don't like it, but it happens.
Yeah, we've yes. I mean, you kind of have to. I mean, as an architect, you also have to take your financial constraints into consideration. That's 9 times out of 10. If we're talking about the TOGAF model, requirements, risk assumptions, and constraints, that one of the biggest constraints is going to be your budget. How much as a FinOps person, Peter? How much are you spending time thinking about like tax burden, tax implications, amortization processes, things like way deep into the accounting weeds?
Not because FinOps is not necessarily in the accounting team to make those calculations or have to figure that out.
Okay, that's a great answer because I hate that stuff.
All right. Again, I don't do the true accounting stuff, right? Everybody in IT says I'm the finance guy. Everybody in finance says I'm the IT guy. So it's like, well, okay, if I talk to you, I'm the finance guy, but I only go to a certain level of finance. I can go deep on tech, or I only go so far on the finance side. But because it all comes across as operational. Well, it depends on how the reporting rules are for the organization, if it's public, if it's private, how they've decided to categorize some of that stuff. So you may have an accounting team that comes to you and says, hey, we want to take these types of charges like third-party spend and all of that that we're using, maybe buying it through Marketplace or using third-party solutions, and that's going to be amortized. So we need a report that shows that breakdown compared to our cloud native stuff, because that is all stuff that is going to be OpEx, and we record that differently. Those are 100% things that FinOps can help with, can help report on, and help break apart for finance teams to understand the spend a little bit better, or be able to categorize them on the books the way that they need to.
And
Nice.
one thing that's coming to mind is, it's not necessarily a question, more than an observation or a comment. But one thing that I tend to notice is a company could come in and be like, hey, okay, we're going to go into the cloud or whatever. And it's like way into the project when accounting goes, hey, we're spending all this money. And then they start talking FinOps. Most often I'm not seeing like any kind of FinOps or even accounting get involved with like the pregame before even going into the cloud. And
well, and that's where it falls to the IT side to say, here's some calculations of the numbers, or we're going to bring somebody in to help us understand the cost implications of doing this. That way, when you go to your accounting meeting and the CIO is sitting across from the CFO and says, I'm going to do this, CFO goes, how much is it going to cost? And you can actually answer the question versus shrugging and saying, well, we're going to find out in a few months, right? That's not going to fly with the CFO. They're going to want to know what your budget is for this pet project. What do you want to do? What are we getting out of it, right? And from the IT side, by thinking that way, by knowing that question is coming, and by having somebody, whether it's an existing person on the team ramping up to understand public cloud spend and doing some basics, or bringing in a third party to help you analyze it and tell you, here's what it's going to look like. That CIO can go in better prepared to have that conversation. The CFO goes, okay, well, you did your homework. This is how much it is. From a business perspective, it makes sense, and let's do it, but let's watch the cost. Now FinOps comes into play in monitoring those costs and counting it towards budget.
Yeah, that's a perfect comment from one of the viewers. Money is not an issue until ...
Yes.
I see that a lot. But that also
absolutely.
circles back to the whole, like, as a cloud solutions architect, we tend to play FinOps because one of the things I end up doing often, all the time, is the moment I start architecting a solution for a project and creating a SAL, I'm having to tell the customer, okay, one, here's what it's going to cost for us to build the thing for you. And secondly, this is what you're going to look like, paying for it once it's up and running, built as is, year after year.
And anyone can do FinOps. It doesn't have to be somebody specific. It doesn't have to be, right? If you're part of a smaller organization, you have an IT team.
I've done it as a DevOps engineer.
Sure, right. Or even if you're a DBA, right? You're only in the database world. You could still go and compare the cost of running a database in public cloud compared to what you're doing, because your SQL licensing, those pieces like that. So you don't have to have a unique skill set. You don't have to, some common knowledge, some basic research. There's plenty of materials out there to help you build a baseline guide and present your case in a way that makes sense, both financially as well as from a technical perspective.
That was a lot. I'm trying to make a joke in chat about a DBA doing FinOps and something about unions, but it's not. I haven't quite figured out the wording yet. Sorry.
And I didn't even
I like
realize
where your mind was going, but
I didn't even realize there was a chat button here. So there you go. So
oh man.
Wait, can you not hold on? This is a new platform for us. Peter, can you not see the chat stream that's going with the people?
I had to click the button to bring it up, and I didn't know the button existed.
Oh man, there's so much side channel here.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I see it all, but I see some.
So my son Cole is actually in the chat, and he's asking he's asking fun questions, and so anyways.
So
he was in my office before I did this, and he was like, yo, you've got a camera in here? What? and I did like my like Siri, it's Showtime thing, which like turns on the key light and dims all the LEDs and everything. And he's like, what? you could be a streamer. And I'm like, bro, this is my job. Like, I do this every day. So,
Not
Anyways,
file your
Is
401
Mr. Mooseman 83 your child, Damien?
yes, that is Cole. Hi, Cole. Love you, bud.
Way to support your dad. That's awesome.
Yeah, way to
Right?
hang in on the very like over the head conversation for a 15-year-old. You know, he's been in here for like 45 minutes. So yeah.
I was going to say my 7-year-old was begging to attend, and I said, no, you have to go to bed because you have school tomorrow. So
Yeah, they were just trying to get out of school.
So, Damien, I have to ask, Mr. Mooseman 83, is your son 43 years old?
Right.
He is not. He is not. He's 15 because I didn't have a kid when I was 5.
Is he the 83rd Mooseman?
I don't know. You know, I think it might have just been one of those name things. Like probably yes. Maybe he wanted to be the Moose Man, and he is the 83rd one. So, anyways, oh my gosh. So my mom is watching. My 15-year-old is in the chat. This is a generational experience, y'all, and you were here for it,
Nice.
Mr. Crenshaw.
The
I'm
whole
very
happy
house
to
and
be here.
clan.
You made it happen.
Hey, we're talking finances, right? It's important life lessons. So
Oh, it
look at
is.
that.
It
We
is.
gotta
Yeah.
file our W-2s and our 401ks and talk about Roths.
Oh.
Oh boy.
Roth
Again,
or traditional.
Chris, remember what I said. I'm not the finance guy.
Nope,
Yeah,
I understand. Awesome. All right. Well, we are at time for the evening. As we
Yep.
were wrapping things up, I did roll the randomizer, and I pinged them. I believe I don't want to out the
That's
person, but
Stephanie.
is okay. All right. So S.A. Dussault,
Mhm.
who I am going to be seeing in Montreal shortly because I'm going to be going up to there for a game day. We're going to hang out, and she has won the AWS credits for the evening. I will ping her. I will DM her the code
Mhm.
over on LinkedIn. Stephanie, congratulations. And Mr. Crenshaw. Yes, please.
I was just going to say, Stephanie, welcome back. I actually noticed the other day when we were doing the show, I was like, where's she been? So good to see you. Welcome back. Thank you.
I may have pinged her and asked her if she was okay. I was like, "Hey, we haven't seen you in a while. We miss you."
Oh,
she might be here out of guilt. Just
We were
feels
just-
bad for us.
I was just legitimately concerned because you were like a steady viewer. So yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Anyways, I'm jealous that you get to go hang out, Chris. Say hi for me.
I'm excited. I'm excited to go visit Montreal. I haven't been there in a hot minute, so I'm gonna have a good time up there.
Hi, Grandma.
Hi, Grandma.
I love it.
Oh
Peter's like,
Lord.
what is happening? What is even going on here?
I love
I
it.
had scrolled down. I was looking at the beginning chat, not the current chat at the top. So like I'm all over the place with it.
There's so much to catch up on. All right. Mr. Crenshaw, thank you so much for coming
Absolutely.
on. It was a pleasure having you. And this was a breath of non-AI fresh air. We talked a little bit about money. We talked about how important architecture is. And I will ping you the next time that I'm down in the Orlando area for a conference, and we will hang out once again.
Sounds good. And if anybody listening wants to reach out, LinkedIn is the best place to reach me.
Awesome. All right, everybody. Well, have a great night, and we will see you once again next Wednesday.